Hello. This brief slideshow presentation has been put together as a call to action to all members of the public who, by right, wish to come forth to insist upon transparency from the Utah Department of Health concerning the underlying reasons for and the lawful standing of the continuous string of orders and mandates that are being forced upon the public. This presentation shall outline just how and why it is that all of the actions taken by the Utah Department of Health throughout the entire course of the COVID-19 situation are in violation of all known law here in the state of Utah. It shall be shown that the Health Department, knowingly in violation of these laws, is fully well aware of the fact that local law enforcement agencies will not back them in this, and that they are instead seeking compliance through the use of the veiled and empty threats of financial fines and imprisonment, both of which are being employed as scare tactics aimed at any member of the public who chooses to take issue with such orders. In essence, they are setting person against person, stoking the flames of continual conflict under the guise of being kind to one another. It's come time to call a spade and to hold the Utah Department of Health, along with the bureaucratic task forces and branches of government backing them, responsible for the economic and psychological devastation that has been wrought upon millions of individuals here in the state of Utah. Feel free to pause these slides at any time to take a closer look and to reference the various documents posted to this site as a means for further study and understanding as to the nature of the actions that are being taken against the Utah Department of Health by we the people. Let's begin. First, a brief overview of the structure of law here in Utah. We see here 4 tiers: the state constitution, state statutes, administrative rules, and county and city ordinances. Weaving into and out of these is that of case law, which should, technically, only apply to the findings of a particular court decision, but which can sometimes be used as a tool to influence and to justify both governmental and bureaucratic actions. We will be honing in on the area that lies between state statute and administrative rulemaking procedures, which are most often cited when questions arise concerning the legality of certain matters pertaining to the regulation of the general public. Setting aside for a moment the purely constitutional argument, bureaucratic and administrative agencies such as the Health Department, which itself is composed of unelected officials, operates under the onus of both rules and orders, and there are some very important distinctions that must be made between the two. Rules are created as a means of licensing and regulating certain activities of the general public, such as the daily operations of a business. By law, rules can apply to an entire class of persons, such as restaurants, salons, barbershops, etc. Rules are created by bureaucratic agencies such as the Utah Department of Health. Orders, on the other hand, are used to enforce rules, and by law, they only apply to a specific individual or a group of individuals, but not to a class of persons. In other words, if someone isn't following the rules, the Utah Department of Health can issue orders that are meant to address this on a person-by-person basis. Orders cannot be issued which apply to the general public at large. Orders themselves are created by an act of the executive or the judicial branches of government. The distinction here might seem subtle, but it is extremely important. These modes of public regulation have been drafted this way in Utah law for a very specific purpose, as a check and balance to ensure that the failure to follow rules is addressed in a very specific manner and on a case-by-case basis. Bear that point in mind. Now, throughout the course of the COVID-19 situation, the Utah Department of Health, by law, should be following administrative rulemaking procedures in the creation and enactment of new rules. In the case of an epidemic or a genuine public health crisis, the legal pathways for dealing with such situations are clearly defined in both statute as well as administrative code. And again, they are written and drafted as they are for a reason. It's not as if the state never anticipated that a health crisis could affect the general public. As such, there are clearly defined legal routes for dealing with such a situation. These include 1. A thorough fiscal analysis showing the financial repercussions across all sectors of the economy that would result from the enactment of new rules in the case of a public health crisis. An example of this would be how will each and every single business be affected by the enactment of new broad sweeping rules? Second, clearly outlining the irreparable harm that would be undergone by the general public through the enactment of new rules meant to deal with the public health crisis. This includes the psychological and mental health impact that would follow from the enactment of such rules. Third, allowing public comment in the case of the creation and enactment of all new rules. And fourth, the careful oversight of the Administrative Rules Review Committee, a legislative body comprised of 10 members of the Utah Congress, which, by law, is responsible for overseeing all actions of the Utah Department of Health, up to and including the creation of new rules. Now, imagine, if you will, a scenario in which a genuine health crisis sweeps through the public. Under such a scenario, and as a means of acting quickly, the Utah Department of Health does have the ability to enact emergency rules, those which are drafted and enacted in short order. The creation of such emergency rules, by law, can last for up to 120 days. However, even in such a scenario, the same legal pathways listed above still apply, i.e., fiscal and irreparable harm analyses, the allowance of public comment, and the oversight of the Administrative Rules Review Committee. So why does any of this legal mumbo-jumbo matter? In the case of COVID-19, the Utah Department of Health has knowingly chosen to abandon all known modes of law here in the state. They have claimed that following the above routes would have been too cumbersome. As such, they have anointed themselves with the power to create a wholly new regulatory category, order rules, which apply to all people everywhere throughout the state. In the process, they have sidestepped the entire rulemaking process. This has all been done with nary a peep from the Administrative Rules Review Committee, who should be very well aware that the proper statutory and administrative code procedures set in place to deal with an epidemic are there for a reason, to prevent the type of economic and psychological devastation that we are seeing manifest in all sectors of society here in Utah. Apparently, the Utah Department of Health has chosen to take up with the ghost of Billy the Kid and to return to the time of the Wild West by willingly casting aside all known law in the name of public safety and security, all for the sake of protecting the public from the dangers of a virus that has a 99+% survival rate here in our state. When taking a closer look at the detailed plans laid out by the various task forces that have been set up specifically to deal with COVID-19, it becomes clear that the fiscal and psychological impact analyses mentioned previously most likely were completed and are continually ongoing. Unfortunately, any and all such detailed data, which by law must be made available to all residents of the state of Utah, has been kept carefully hidden and away from the eyes of the general public. One must ask the question, why? Well, as Thomas Paine once so rightly said, it is error only, and not truth, that shrinks from inquiry. So, since the Administrative Rules Review Committee seems to have taken a permanent vacation, sipping daiquiris on a beach somewhere in the French Riviera, it is up to we the people to do their job for them. It comes to this. By law, any individual member of the public is allowed to legally petition the Utah Department of Health, both to demand a public hearing as well as to amend illogical language written into certain administrative rules and state public health orders. This same action can be taken on a county-by-county basis. By law, the Utah Department of Health, as well as the county health departments, must respond to such petitions. If they remain silent, the matters in question automatically go before judicial review. It bears noting that any and all such efforts to engage public health department officials, up to this point, have been met with the response, "It wasn't me. I'm not the one responsible. He is." We in the general public are tired of the cowardice, of the failure to take personal accountability for one's actions, or lack thereof, and of the constant passing around of the hot potato. So, here's what you can do. Read and sign the 2 petitions included on this website. We the people will be gathering to hand-deliver these petitions directly to the Utah Department of Health, and we are seeking to gather together the leaders and the members of all of the truth-seeking groups here in Utah. More details on the exact date and time of this public gathering will follow very soon. Contact the members of the Administrative Rules Review Committee. Point them to this video and to the additional educational documents included on this website and demand that they hold the health department responsible for its illegal actions and the damages that have resulted from these actions. And lastly, file petitions with your respective county health departments. A template is included for download on this site. The bottom line is that we are demanding real answers. We see the nature of the game being played, pitting person against person, blue against blue, black against white. All of this is being done through public pressure, and the so-called orders and mandates being handed down by the governor, by the Utah Department of Health, and by county health departments are all a big bluff. We the people are calling that bluff. We're done with being made to look like fools who don't follow the science. Funny how recent comments made by a top hospital official here in the state indicated that even a negative COVID test is a positive, and how those who schedule a COVID test but who fail to show up for said test are automatically labeled as positive. It's all a big numbers game, and the devil loves fiddling around with numbers. If you yourself are a medical practitioner and are buying into this absurdity, then you should have your license revoked, and you should be shipped off to join the fine folks of the Administrative Rules Review Committee on that very same beach in the Riviera. Feel free to have a look through this site and to download any of the documents posted here. I would start with the reasons behind this call to action. The empty claims of the health department is a simple outline of much of what has been stated above. The Utah Code Exposition is a deeper dive into the statute and administrative rules matrix. Contact lists for all health department officials and Administrative Rules Review Committee members are also included, though we can't promise that they will have Wi-Fi access on that particular beach in the Riviera. And lastly, stay tuned for announcements concerning the public gathering at the Utah Department of Health in Salt Lake City to hand-deliver copies of the 2 petitions directly to the department. We'll see you there.